Hello and welcome to another episode of the Solo Inter podcast, a show where we discuss all things Inter. Yeah, it's been quite some time since we did our last episode, Manish, and we are of course coming off a 2-1 away victory to Hellas Verona, a match which we all thought was going to be tough, and it indeed was. Wasn't an easy match. Of course, and I know which is Howler made things difficult, more difficult than they should have been. But yeah. I mean, it's been quite a few days since we've looked at that match, and of course we'll begin by talking about it. So, Manish, run me through that match. Hellas Verona. We were going away to Hellas Verona. They haven't beaten us for ages, but the way they play in the league, and they've held we had discussed this before, right? With Kostub, they had held the big teams, Juventus, Lazio, Milan, and Roma as well. So of course we knew that this was going to be a tough game, but we did manage to get a big result in my opinion. So how do you think the match played out? What what gave us that edge? Was it that formation change of 3-4-2-1? Was that it, or was it a moment of individual brilliance, or was it just someone like Skriniar stepping up, scoring his first goal since February 2018? What do you think it was?
Yes, greetings everybody. Ciao ragazzi to all the Inter fans. And I'm glad, Parmeshwar, I'm back on this podcast. It seemed like a really long break, yeah, because we were playing every 3 days and all of a sudden it's been like a 10 days break. It feels really different. So getting straight to the match, last match, yes, like you and Kostu pointed out, it was a really tricky match. And I think Conte also took this match really seriously. I'm glad he took it because if you check, always, the criticism was Conte is too predictable. His formation lineups are so predictable. And once even Capello put him on the spotlight asking like, wow, what's plan B? So apparently everyone, I think all the teams have figured out in this formation, the tactics, everything. So I'm glad this time he tried something new. He tried to mirror the same formation of Verona with a 3-4-2-1 formation. The first stuff you check, it seemed like Inter gave too much respect to Hellas Verona. It was quite slow, lackluster, not much chances. Inter shut down Verona well. And also Inter didn't have much of the chances. I think one Lautaro shot, which the keeper stopped well. And that was a very like dull and boring first half, if you ask me, because even Perisic, if you check, he seemed out of place, yeah, in the 3-4-2-1. Okay, the rumors say that we use the formation so that we can just try to accommodate Papu Gomez in that. So that's okay. We'll talk more about it in the transfer segment. But yes, so that formation seemed a bit out of shape, although it was a much refreshing change. Wasn't that happy with the formation as such, but generally it was a good formation change, a refreshing change. And yes, Lautaro finally broke his duck. We've been talking about last few weeks that Lautaro has to step up in these games. He has to step up. And what a cross for Hakimi, and he's just side-footed. It's a brilliant goal. And yes, he silenced the haters for yet another week. Let's hopefully his form continues. And also, yes, the Handanovic howler for the equalizer. Oh my God, what do I say on that? It's like never easy for us. Even this match seemed like we had total control. We shut them out completely. Our defense was amazingly well, played really well. Bastoni, Skriniar, and De Vrij, all these three combined. We completely shut out the opposition. They didn't have any chances much, but like you say, there are times where Lady Luck is not on her side, and out of nothing, they got a goal. So Handanovic, I think previous round on the Napoli match, he had man of the match performance, but now again he showed why it's about time we have to think about a future and change the keeper. Because if you check also in the past decade, Parmeshwar, what happened is when Julius Caesar was there, in 2010, he was top of the game. But 2011 or 2012 onwards, he started making like this type silly errors, which led to stupid goals. Like he would catch the ball, throw onto the player, and players to score. So that's an indication that the inter manager must step up the efforts and look out for a new keeper in the long run. Saying that, the second goal which came, like that really came like a sigh of relief. You could see the players on the celebration, and who were none other than Skriniar. Skriniar for me has been one of the main vital points in this season, yeah, because until he wasn't there in the first lineup, starting lineup, you could see that we used to allow all types of leaky goals. But ever since he came, a defense solidarity came back. Uh, Back three turned strong. Handani's got more confidence. Overall, the team looked allowed lesser goals. So definitely, I think one of the main contribution for us to have 7 straight victories is Skriniar back in the lineup. This guy is really like, I hope we don't sell him in January because I don't think we can get an adequate replacement like him. This guy seriously has the grinta, he has the aggression, he has the concentration. And yes, I'm so happy. Skriniar, Devra, and Bastoni, these three, you could say all three are quite young too. It's not like they're in the mid 30s or just about 30s. No, they can play with us for next another decade or more. So I'm glad these three played really well. And yes, Skriniar, I think his first goal in over 3 seasons. That's what the stats say. I think over 2 seasons or third season, it's his first goal. So he broke his duck. You could see the team relieved, and overall, a very vital 3 points. Parmeshwar, that is the most important thing. 7 straight wins. Overall, a very good result, and just 1 point off Milan. If you ask me, that's a really good week, good result, and great way to end the year. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely was one of the best results of the season, in my opinion, because as I've constantly reiterated, and again, I would like to say is that it's not easy to play Hellas Verona, and I could see those flashes by them in the match wherein, Marco Davide, Faraoni, and Di Marco, they did give us a hard time from the flanks. Di Marco was making good runs. Even Faraoni was making good runs. To their, I think, where they ended up being unfortunate was where Davidovic got injured, and then Lovato, who came to replace him, also got injured. So they did suffer there. But you could see, they still did a pretty fine job keeping Lukaku at bay. We saw that, Lukaku, had so many close chances via Hakimi. That goal in the end, which was, I felt a bit too harsh to disallow him off. I don't think it was a foul. But yeah, I mean, also to touch upon Hakimi, I'm glad Conte started him because this was the game where he could really exploit Di Marco, because Di Marco going forward is really good, not that much defensively, so he left a lot of spaces. And who was it who assisted Lautaro's goal? It was
Yeah.
Hakimi's cross, and that run in the end, the run he made, so, intercepting that ball, that was amazing. That, pacey run, and that was typically our third goal. But yeah, I mean, both teams, did test each other. It wasn't an easy game. I'm glad, the team showed the right level of energy and mental strength to bounce back and win this. Yeah, and I'm happy for Skriniar, first goal since February 2018. And, he before this, he's mentioned it multiple times that he's always wanted to score a goal since post February 2018. And I'm happy that, as you said, he's got his goal, and you could see in his post match conference he was really elated. He really wanted that. So good to see. And yeah, and he, just to look at our back three, how comfortable were they? As you said, Devray, Bastoni, Skriniar, last season in this exact fixture, away, he was the one who absolutely got destroyed by Darko Lazovic in those early minutes, and we conceded. But right now you see the difference. Yeah, he's there, he's solid now. So I'm glad to see that overall. And yeah, as you said, good way to cap off this year. I mean, tough times for all and all. Yeah, but yeah, so that was the Hellas Verona game, Manish. Now we'll look on to other things before we preview the Crotone match. I want to delve into a bit of the Mercato and what just happened a few hours ago before we started recording. That's of course Raja Nainggolan, the big news. Apparently, not apparently, it's done that he is going to go back to Cagliari because one of their midfielders, Marco Rog, is injured, and of course they were always desperate to get Nainggolan back. That's not a doubt, yeah. But now it's again he's going back on loan. And I mean, yes, some fans would be frustrated, Manish, that of course, why is this not a permanent deal? But of course, in these times, no club can buy, can afford to spend on players like Nainggolan and everyone. But yeah, Nainggolan's gone. His medical will be done soon. Eriksen's being linked with West Ham now, concrete interest. And but apparently he wants to wait until Pochettino is announced as the PSG coach. That's that. Then we're being linked with Gervinho, and if not Gervinho, Graziano Pella. So I want to get your take on the Mercato, Manish, because also we had our important summit today, the meeting with Antonio Conte, Steven Zhang, Beppe Marotta, Piero Ausilio, where apparently now per Sky Italia, the thing is that Inter's main focus is to reduce costs first. And then if the right opportunities arrive, we will spend, look for swap deals or whatever, deals wherein our revenue outweighs the cost. So what's your take on the overall Mercato, Manish? Like, do you think this is the right approach, this is the right way to go about things, that we look to cut costs in January and maybe only look to do swap deals. And let's say if this strategy helps us, in the long run, maybe we can spend a lot in the summer, or at least better than what we are expected to. So what do you think? Are you happy with the strategy? Are you fine if we have to take Gervinho, if because just because we need a fourth striker? Are you fine we have to take an injury prone player like Leandro Paredes, who could potentially fit the system? I don't deny, but he is injury prone. So what's your overall take on this Mercato? Do you think it is bound to happen in the pandemic? So yeah, what do you think?
Yes, so talking about the Mercato, the thing right now is not just Inter. I think all the clubs around the world, they are affected. One is with the revenue streams being hit, with no ticket sales happening. So it's a confused state for a lot of clubs. I don't think anyone is going out of the way to spend big. If you check, everybody's pretty much going to do swap deals, or they're going to do a loan transfer with a significant amount of salary payoff. So Inter thing is Inter's heavy in two sides. One is Inter cannot sell players on big money. That right now no one's there to buy. So the other alternatives are to loan out players, because players with hefty wages, people like Golan, Perisic, Eriksen, we cannot put them on the bench because they don't fit much our system. So might as well send them on loan, where at least I would say more than 50% salary gets covered by the other team. So that is the other smart move, because it's no point keeping the books and not using them. That would be actually foolish. So Zhang, I'm glad the meeting just got over, and like we discussed in the previous podcast, I think we just mentioned it before. We need to buy players, we need to sell. So yeah, selling should be a top priority, because the wages that we have, it's quite high. So starting with the Nainggolan transfer, actually, like I said, I was one of his biggest fans, but seeing the work, the effort he has put in, it's I don't think he deserves an Inter shirt, because Inter comes first before anything else, because no matter what players come and go, Inter is always supposed to be first. Then Gulan was definitely a fan's favorite, and he begged for a second chance under Conti, and he got second chance. But did he take it with two hands? No, I don't think he took it seriously. It was again like a extended holiday for him from the efforts he put in training and stuff. So I'm glad he's going. What I read is part of his salary will still be paid by Inter. So I don't know what that means. That badly Inter just wanted to get rid of him. How it seemed that way, than selling him out for cash. So yes, so he's going on a dry loan, I believe 6 months loan, which later on, which has option to make it permanent. So that Nainggolan deal is done. The second point comes about Ericsson. Ericsson thing is quite tricky, because we all know Conti doesn't want an offensive midfielder. He wants a defensive midfielder. Pretty much like his dream is N'Golo Kante, but I don't think Inter's in position to fulfill his dream now, because with the Champions League revenue being stopped. So uh, Paredes seems like a cheap alternative to that. If not, I think below that would be Granit Xhaka of Arsenal, because he clearly wants a defensive midfielder, Conti, no matter what. He will not stop at that. He must have told you might he must told the inter management, Conti, that you can sell Ericsson as long as you get me a proper defensive midfield. That's his number one priority. So I won't be surprised if that deal goes through, Paredes uh, for Ericsson. Paredes, again, he has a bit of CV experience, so it's not a bad thing. And he played in AS Roma for a couple of seasons before going to Zenit and then going to PSG. So he has played at the highest level. Yes, you did mention about his fitness, so that is again a concern. So let's see, but keeping Ericsson in the bench is absolutely no use. You might as well get a better deal. I don't think any of the clubs like Chelsea or Man United or Real Madrid want Ericsson anymore. So the thing with Ericsson is, as long as his market value is high, might as well get a good swap deal for him. And at this point, it seems like Paredes seems the only option. If you ask me between Paredes and Granit Xhaka, I would choose Paredes. So yes, that's my thing on the Eriksen saga. And yes, most importantly, if we sell off Perisic, which I think most likely he's going to leave too, we need a proper defensive left wing back. Not a defensive, I mean like a proper left by wing back. Marcus Alonso is again being linked with us, and Suarez is uh, Palmieri. But I wish we get Alonso for the time being until our main target is Goosens over the summer. But yes, that is another area where we need proper adequate backup. And talking about the striker role, yes, that's again quite a thing. Graciano Pele is being linked, Gervinho is being linked, Papu Gomez is being linked for the fourth position, fourth striker. So if you ask me, my priority obviously would be Papu Gomez as a striker, but I'm not sure how well if he'll fit because Conte always wants that huge target man. He wants a huge bulky players like Laurente, players like uh, Oliver Giroud, to hold the ball back at goal. So I'm guessing that would be the first priority, getting Giroud and stuff. But if not, I would suggest Girvini is good for the next 6 months because Girvini for Pinamonte again is going to be a swap deal. So that again would makes sense for me because Giroud is really experienced. He can come off the bench with the space. He offers something different to what Lukaku and Martinez offers. So yeah, that's all to sum up the Mercato. And yes, first priority should be on selling before we buy. Permission.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with everything because the thing is, Manish, it's not easy in this Mercato. As frustrating as it is to hear the club say, we can't spend, we can't, we are not really flexible in the Mercato. It is, of course, it hurts, and because what under Suni, the potential is there, right? We can go places, but it's unfortunate, and you have to settle for whatever you get. So, if I had to personally pick a few players from whom we are linked, I'd rather not take Graziano Pella. And if Papu Gomez is tough, I'd rather have Gervinho. I mean, as you said, like on a 6 month deal or something, loan deal, I'm fine with that, just because he's experienced, and you saw the way he played against us also. I mean, he can do a job. Yeah, he can do a job off the bench and everything. So it's fine. I mean, and as with Paredes, if since he can fit the system better, I would have him. Although his injury track record and everything, yeah, it is an unfortunate situation. And also, I'd like to point something very interesting out, which is a while ago, the news broke that Serie A clubs are going to be massively affected. The revenue agency, they decided to basically block the decree of wherein the tax rules are relaxed for the players. As they get a 50% leeway, any foreign player who comes in. So the likes of Ronaldo, the likes of Lukaku, Eriksen, all of them, of course, get a 50%, let's say, leeway of sorts. But now they're gonna block it. So that's another problem on our head. Like it's. I was just checking. I was just going through Football Italia. So they were saying that Inter are going to be the worst impacted through this. They probably, if the government approves this, Inter will have to pay a total of an additional amount of 23 million or so, including Conte's salary. So I mean, that's just bad luck. And on just to add something on top of that, China's laws are changing as well due to the pandemic. So the government has informed them that the investment towards sport in general is going to reduce. Hence Pele is being linked back because they're reducing the wage cap. Hence, and they're not letting companies spend as much if they own clubs abroad. So that's again hits us hard. So it's I hope all of this doesn't go true, but it's hard times if you believe all the news. So yeah, I mean, if so, basically, what I'm trying to say is, if whatever we, per the coach's demands, if we can, make do with what he asks for, we might as well give it to him because the times are such. Yeah, we can't afford to experiment like we probably did with Ericsson, especially not in this market. At least that was during times when clubs were, there was like the pandemic hadn't hit hard, but especially in these times we can't. But moving on from the Mercato, there was another interesting thing, Manish, that caught my eye, which was, of course, there was this survey conducted by Italian press or Ita press, wherein all 20 coaches from the league, from the Serie A, were asked three things: their surprise team, their player of the year, and league winner. Out of those 20 coaches, only 16 responded. Of course, Antonio Conte did, knowing him. But yeah, to give you an example, for instance, for looking at Gianpiero Gasparini, his surprise team he picked as AC Milan, his player of the year for 2020, Ibrahimovic, and the team he picked to win the league was Inter. And that's what most of the coaches have done. They've backed us to win the league. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of patterns emerging here. So of course these are just casual awards and all. But what do you make of this? I mean, I'll just add my own spin to it. If I had to ask you, who's your surprise team of the year, your player of the year, and who do you think will win the league?
Yeah, so if you ask me, well, interestingly, okay, I'll be like a neutral. I will not put Inter much into it. So if you ask me, the most surprising team so far is, I would say, Roma, because Roma sold a lot of their players. Roma sold, and pretty much we thought like, it'd be like top 10 position and stuff. They didn't sign any significant signing. So they're just up there in third position. So that's been quite surprising. And they got like a mixed bag results, couple of wins, couple of losses, but still they're up there just behind Inter in third place. For me, the player of the season, okay, not choosing any Inter player, just to keep it neutral, I would say Theo Hernandez. That guy is a left back, and he's scoring all vital goals, and he's really good. It's one of the best signings I've seen, like in Serie A, because he's one of the player of the season. He's doing crosses, he's doing assists, he's scoring headed goals, he's scoring long range shots, you name it. So that's my surprise player. And the team to win, I have to say it has to be Inter, because now is the perfect chance for us to win. Because with Milan, it's more or less unpredictable. With Juventus, again, I don't think ever we'll see Juventus in this scenario where they win 6 games and they draw 6 games. I don't think in the next 3 or 4 years this will happen. So it has to be Inter if you ask me. What about you, Parmeshwar? If you had to choose your three pick,
Yeah, I mean, although all these things are at the end of the day very casual and all, but I found it really interesting, Manish, and I like your take on it. It's pretty interesting where you pointed out Roma, whereas many people would go with AC Milan, because I have to admit, like, it's very hard to pick one team in the first place, but kudos to Roma, because as you said, they had to sell a lot. The ownership change. They're going in a new direction, and albeit all that, you have to give them credit. They've done really well. Mkhitaryan and Dzeko staying put. He was so close to leaving. So kudos to them. But I personally look at a surprise team in many ways. So AS Roma, on the positive note, is one team for me. There's of course AC Milan. I don't need to elaborate. I'll even make a case for Sassuolo, wherein I didn't expect them to be, in this position at this point. I do expect them to do well, but not as well as this. But I also look at the negative aspects of it, in the sense, teams doing badly. That could also be a surprise. And for me, it's Fiorentina, although yes, they've been a mess. I know that, the coach changes and all, they don't have that consistency. But when I look at that team, Manish, there's someone who should be at least, be there for top six, in my opinion. We spoke to Costa before the podcast the other day. He was saying how depressing it is to be a Fiorentina fan slash admirer, because that's his favorite team. But yeah, I expect them to be amongst the top six, and here they are just above the relegation zone, and also that's my surprise in a way. But if I had to come back on track and pick the player of the year, it's a hard one. Automatically, one guy comes to mind, that's Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and I respect him, but I want to try and be very, what do you say, very focused, and I actually agree with you. I would actually give it to Theo Hernandez, because the guy is unbelievable. First season when he came into Milan, he wasn't as good defensively. He used to leave a lot of spaces behind. People used to criticize him for that, but he's improved so much. Defensively, you saw all this season he's been scoring all those late goals, saving Milan. He's really, in my opinion, easily world class. There's no doubt about it. And that Theo Hakimi battle and everything, I think he has to be the player of the year for me, Theo Hernandez. And league winner, I mean, what else do I say? I have to pick Inter, man, because I mean, if we don't win it, it's embarrassing. Yeah, I mean, it's one hell of a flop season. So it has to be Inter. I mean, no disrespect to any other club. First, let me make that clear. No disrespect to AC Milan, Juventus, AS Roma, no one. It's just that we are in a position where, the coach is obliged to win. He has no choice. Yeah, so it has to be us. But yeah, I mean, Manish, that was interesting to talk about. But moving on, also, there's another thing where, of course, Lukaku was once again interviewed by, I think, some Belgian press or Dutch press, if I'm not wrong, just to be sure. But yeah, I mean, he was asked about whether he thinks he's one of the top five players in the last 5 months, just to make it clear, because otherwise, some of our audience would think he's talking about, the whole year or something. But yeah, what do you make of it? Do you think? And he also, of course, spoke about, being a leader alongside players like Arturo Vidal, Nicolo Barella, to name a few. Do you think he's being a bit overconfident, or do you think it's good that he's showing this confidence? Because from my personal observation, when he was at Man United, before, he used to get so much slack. He had lost this kind of confidence. He had lost this self belief, in my opinion. But now I see this different side of him, where he's grown so much, he's improved so much, he carries us. I personally love this sort of confidence because, yes, at times it doesn't work out, but I personally see him as the leader, which we have not had for a lot of years. What's your take on this?
See, if you ask me, I think Lukaku right now he has grown over 2020. I think the highest amount of goals scored in the whole calendar year 2020. He's at the top, considering the national team goals, considering the Champions League goals, Europa League goals, everything. He's definitely at the top of the summit right now, and I think he's in the best form of his life. So take nothing aside from Lukaku, this guy has definitely been one of our best players. And I think with this goal scoring rate, we haven't seen such a player ever in a very long time, because we've seen players showing glimpses of, but this guy has been really consistent. He has been scoring goals whenever he needed. So yes, I would definitely, if you ask me, in the last 5 months, like he said, he is one of the top strikers in the world, top five strikers in the world. There's no doubt in that. And aside from that, I think little arrogance is required. Not little arrogance. What do you say? Like, for example, I'll tell you one thing. One interview was asked Mourinho a question long back. Are you the best coach in the world, when Mourinho stopped for the game? And Mourinho funnily said, I'm not the best coach in the world, but I don't think anyone's better than me. So he said that in a very smart way. So yes, you require players like, for example, Zlatan. Zlatan keeps comparing himself to God, which I think is obviously it's a wide. And so as Ronaldo, we consider as the best in the planet. So it's no harm in Lukaku considering in top five in the world. Yeah. So yeah, I think I see nothing wrong in it. Yes, obviously the haters will find some fault in it, but if Lukaku doesn't say it now, then when is the time? Right now, he's in the best form. Also, the Belgium coach said that, Martinez said that Lukaku right now is in the form of his life. So yes, I'm sure like strikers require confidence, and he is using that to pump himself up. So I'm all in Lukaku's side for this. And he mentioned something vital. He mentioned like Inter needs leaders. Like we always brushed upon talking about who should be the captain next season. We discussed it a lot of times, and I always pointed this exact point. I told C. Parmeshwar, the next captain has to be a leader on the pitch. You should be able to motivate the team. He should be able to guide the team. He should be able to, and he said it in a very nice way. He told, if you read his interview, he said that players should not throw up hands in the air and just complain and moan about, focus on the game, give it all. I think loosely he was referring to Brozovic, who is technically rumored to be the vice captain of the team. So he told there should be more leaders. Like he named himself, he named Alexis Sanchez, he named Arturo Vidal, and surprisingly, a young player like Barella, who he said is the leader of the pitch. So yes, that says a lot, because you know what, while we are from the outside, we can just watch and uh, discuss and debate and stuff, but he's also on the inside, and he's seeing the players in the locker room, the dressing, the training, and the effort they put in. And if he says like these four other players are the leaders, then I'm sure the management also sees the same way and should make one of them the captain. If you ask me personally, I think Lukaku should be the captain, but in the long run, yes, Barella should be the captain of Inter, if you ask me, because the effort and the professionalism he's putting in every match, every ball, that is required.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Barella, as a leader, when Lukaku, said that, it doesn't really surprise me that much. Of course, he's young and all, and he's one of those funny guys, just joking around in the training ground. But the thing with Barella, first things first, he's a proper Inter fan. We've known that for quite some time. That's one. As you said, the fight he shows on the pitch, every small thing. He's the way he's grown. I mean, I won't be surprised if he's the future captain for the long run. And but if I had to look at the immediate run, it has to be, for me, I hope it is Lukaku, but we never know, right? And just to touch upon what you said, Manish, the thing is, as you said, if Lukaku doesn't make these sort of claims now, then when will he, right? I mean, is he not supposed to make them at all? Is he not allowed to be confident with himself? As he pointed out when he said it initially, I think some weeks ago, if he said if Ronaldo and Lewandowski could break their limits and reach a new high, why can't I? And what's wrong with the self belief? Yeah, because let's face it, he's close to 30 now, not very close, but of course he's going to close in. But and if he doesn't show this sort of ambition, people would always some there would always be this section of people saying, this guy never showed the ambition. If I just don't want to compare this exactly, but I remember Snyder saying this recently, that somewhat indirectly, that he didn't really want to reach that level. He didn't try hard enough. I don't remember his exact quotes, but he in a way implied that he gave up that fight to reach the level of someone like Ronaldo, Messi, Kaka. Sorry, not Kaka, but Kaka in a way. Sorry, my bad. Kaka as well. At that point, for the prime is what he meant. He admitted that he never wanted to try that hard. So if Lukaku were to never say such a thing, or were to be have like an attitude like Schneider, people would have still criticized him. So I don't really see anything wrong with the self belief. And people may, of course, as you said, his haters would always nitpick, bring his first touch out, which has improved, but they'll of course find any reason to nitpick and criticize him. But I'm glad to see this for a change, because Manish, as I said this before, Icardi never did this. He never said this out aloud. He never stood up for the team as a captain. He never spoke about any other leaders being there in the team. Handanovic is not really vocal. He might be a good captain in the dressing room, but we don't see it on the pitch. Yeah, and as fans, that's the only thing we can judge on, right? We don't know what goes behind the scenes. So I'm happy with his comment. I don't really think it's a big deal if, as you said, if people are fine with Zlatan saying this, and I understand he's in a league of his own and he's been doing it for ages. Nothing against him. Love the guy. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's let him just enjoy his football. He's as you said, he's probably in the best moment of his career. So why not? But yeah, Manish, that was that. That was Lukaku. Just to cap off something before we move on to the Crotone preview. Of course, now we touched upon the Mercato and everything. But now, do with all these, with the pandemic, with the summit today that happened, with our objectives, the transfer objectives and everything, do you really, how, of course, I mean, this is a pretty obvious and easy question to answer, but how crucial is this Mercato going to be? Because the thing is, Manish, when I read the news, I see teams like AC Milan and Roma trying very hard to reinforce their teams in January, identifying, voids and everything. But unfortunately, we are in a situation where we can't really do much unless we are smart about it. So what do you think? What do you make of this? Because, the Scudetto race is now like, almost halfway through, and it's a crucial period. Yeah. I mean, even if we only play the league and Coppa Italia, we still need to make sure we have that depth, right? We can't just let Eriksen go. We can't just let Nainggolan go. We can't just let, Perisic leave and then not sign anyone, right? We can't just let one of our left wing backs go like Perisic and just say we are not going to sign anyone. We'll be in a very bad situation. So what do you think? How do you think the club should take it? Should they only should they only let a player go if they are guaranteed of a signing, or take that risk of a leaner squad, of a thinner squad, as Conte has always done in the past and has also indirectly actually said in a press conference? So what's your take on this? How vital is this for the Scudetto race?
Yes, so Parmesh, if we saw Conte's press conference back, one thing he just said, we have a huge bench strength. Our bench is really huge, but he also pointed out saying it's like just an illusion. Not many of them, some of them are just there just to warm the bench. This is the actual words. So saying by that, we might have a lot of players by the books right now, but how many of them are match fit? How many of them motivated to go? How many of them can Conte rely on? It's very few. So, like clearly said, players like Eriksen, Nainggolan, they completely not fit for the team, not suitable. So it absolutely makes no sense putting them on the bench with heavy wages. So yes, we must first of all get rid of these players, because these type of players, you know what, they might hamper the morale. It might hamper the growth of the team, because right now, if it's a smaller group, it's easier for Conti to talk to them, convince them, show them different formations, and a lot of things you can do even a smaller group. Having a bigger group, it's tough to motivate them, and it becomes challenging in training sessions, a lot of things like that. So first thing is first, Conti clearly said he has to trim the squad level. Yes, that is important, and it's not necessary when we sell 5 players, we have to get in 5 players. No, we might have to sell 5 players, but get in 2 or 3 real value addition players to the team. and this could be short term. It's not like go out, break the bank, and sign like people rumored us to sign Rodrigo G. Paul, whose value is like 40, 45 million, which I think unlikely is going to happen at this point because we don't have the funds for it. And with Champions League football not being there for us, so it definitely brings a knock-on effect to our signings. So uh, small signings, short-term signings like Gervinho and those type things, you know what, are guaranteed safe bets. Why? Because they're proven players. They won't take long time to adjust to the league. As soon as they come, they can start firing right away. And these type of players are not something which a major effects to our starting 11, because starting 11 pretty much is decided by Conte. He's going to stick with the same, more or less same team, provided one or two changes in the wing backs. So he needs some defensive cover, or like for example, somebody gets injured, like we don't have a Vice Lukaku, certain areas like that, or a proper left wing back. So those areas need to be addressed. So yes, Parmesan, I'm not expecting a very busy Mercato for us. I think first 20 days of the Mercato would be us trying our best to sell players. It could be quite frustrating for us Inter fans, but I pretty much think that's the way it's going to be. Seeing it, AC Milan situation is quite kind of different because AC Milan, I think a lot of their first team players are out. I would say 6 or 7 main players of their first team is out, and they're somehow surviving it. So for them, they considered, yes, we need a couple of players. But saying that Marotta is a very smart guy, he will hopefully do some good signings for us. But saying that his vision and Conte's vision again are like poles apart, so that should be a common ground. And I would say this time, Parmesh, if you ask me, please, we should stick to Conte's vision because no matter what, we get a talented player like Ericsson, that makes absolutely no sense if the coach has no plans in using him. So yes, certain small signings are required, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting take, yeah, because I mean, as you said, first of all, we need to give the coach what he wants. He can't just, as I had pointed out earlier as well, he can't try to be overly creative in this Mercato. There's no scope for it, in my opinion, given the financial situations and everything. And yeah, I mean, if we cut costs and if I personally, of course, if Marotta delivers things as we expect him to, he's a genius. And of course, there have been some the Ericsson thing was a whole issue and everything. But leaving that aside, we know what Maratha is capable of. Yeah, he's already apparently working for June for transfers. Like apparently, like Mattia Zaccani from Hellas Verona. Their attacking mid who can play in a 3-4-2-1, and he's pretty good. Yeah, he's having a good season. So I won't be surprised if Conte asks for Zaccani and we actually go and get him. They're also apparently working to wrap up the signing of Sampdoria's left wing Mikkel Damsgaard, pretty good talent who can also play as a striker. So maybe, he becomes one of the, like we probably change our dynamic of the striker and maybe he becomes like a rotational option with Lukaku. We never know. There's a lot of things going on at the club and there's a lot the club is planning. And as you said, Rodrigo De Paul and all, as much as I would love to have him, it's just not possible in January. We need to be really smart. And yeah, I mean, yes, we do have a good squad, but I just hope Manish, that we don't trim it to the extent that we faced the problems from last season. Because with the last season, you remember, it was the quality and depth, and the depth as a whole that was an issue because of injuries. Yes, of course, we were in multiple competitions, and now we are in only two. Like we were in three last, but it's still we can't trim the squad to the point, where we again come back to square one, saying we don't have enough depth. So if we have to keep someone like Vecino, to be a part of the squad, and if he's really committed, then let's keep Vecino. I am not the biggest of fans of Vecino, but I'm pretty sure he'll show more intent than Raja Nainggolan. I'm pretty sure about that. So, I mean, yeah, it's a tricky one. Yeah, it's a
I want to
tricky
ask
one.
Parmeshwar one
Yeah,
thing. If you check the next season, the amount of free transfers, a lot of big players' contracts are players like Sergio Aguero, Lionel Messi. Anybody has caught your attention, which you think we should go all out for? Like there's Depay, a lot of good players. I think the first time in a really long time I've seen like such quality players. Donnarumma is included in the list. Should, because now with club finances, a lot of big teams are struggling to pay the hefty transfer fees. You think should we go all out and attack the free transfers? What's your take on that?
absolutely, because that's what Beppe Marotta is known for. Yeah, I mean, that's what he did at Juventus. That's his specialty. And I know the tax laws and all are likely to change, and Italy is not going to be that. Italy is not going to be able to offer that 50% tax discount and all that. But still, The fact that I think the league is on the rise will still attract players. That's one thing. But coming to your main question, Manish, yeah, I mean, free transfers and swap deals are the way to go. I mean, one player that catches my eye is Jorginho Wijnaldum, because he's yet not renewed his contract with Liverpool. Of course, there are talks ongoing to find an agreement, and I assume he will. But that's one player I would want, because just because of his quality, one, his passing range, the work rate, definitely Wijnaldum tops my list. I mean, there's Donnarumma, who you'd obviously want to solve your goalkeeping problems and all, but that's not happening. I know he's just playing. Mino Raiola is just playing hardball for his new contract. That's Mino Raiola, right? He's not coming to Inter, so I'm not gonna dream or anything for Donnarumma, but if I had to pick one, it has to be Wijnaldum for me. No one else, because because of his quality and passing range, everything. The way he's fit in at Liverpool for Klopp, the work rate. I think, and there have been reports, yeah, Manish, of us trying to monitor the Wijnaldum situation, because let's not forget, it's the prime destination for Wijnaldum is supposed to be Barcelona. Of course, Ronald Koeman wants him and all, but yeah, I mean, we should definitely monitor the situation. I mean, I know he's 30 and all, but would I rather take Wijnaldum on free than spend 40 million on DePaul? I mean, it's a very tricky question to answer. Do we actually compromise our significant chunk of the budget on one player, or rather get Wijnaldum for free and start addressing overall areas and spend that money on a keeper? Yeah. So it's a tough thing to judge, but it has to be. I'll definitely go for Jorginho Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum. Sorry. So moving on, Manish, I think that was the Mercato and everything. Let's look into, I think,
Yes,
the
so Parmeshwar,
yeah.
I think talking about the next match, that's something which I want to discuss with you is Crotone. So I think we're kicking off the new calendar year. The first game belongs to us, early kickoff, Sunday early kickoff. Crotone, uh, they are like second last of the group. They're second at the bottom, and pretty much they're struggling to get good results. So what's it take, and what do you think? What type of football do they play? Can you give some analysis on Crotone, the type of football they play, and any players to watch out for?
Yeah, so the thing with Crotone is, as you pointed out, Manish, first of all, they're 19th in the league, and that's, of course, they've not been that great. They didn't reinforce their squad that well. Of course, I'll come to their key players and everything. But the thing with Crotone is they started off really poorly. Okay, Manish, like all they have right now in the league is 2 wins. 9 losses, 3 draws. They got hammered by Genoa. They've been hammered by, they've lost to whoever they faced pretty much, except beating Parma and Spezia. And the biggest win this season has been a 4-win win over Spezia, where they actually, this was a game where Spezia, unlike the way they played against us, they actually played a very fluid game, and Crotone destroyed them. But the thing with Crotone is, against the smaller teams, against teams on par with them, they try to push higher a bit, but against the big teams, they just sit back. But they're not as good defensively as the way Spezia played against us. So if you had to ask me, I wouldn't expect such a tough game like the one we played against Spezia. If I had to pick a few of their key players, their junior Messias, he's their top scorer, Salvatore Molina, right center mid, Arcadia Shreka, their left wing back. Since I said left wing back, they also play a 3-5-2. They started out with a 3-4-1-2 initially, but they play a 3-5-2. And like our system, pretty much it's their wing backs doing the job. Yeah, they have Pedro Pereira on the right, pretty good. So it's their wing backs getting most of the important attacking play. But if I just highlight a few stats, Manish, for shots on target, they're 18th, ranked 18th in the league. Not a good stat, yeah. Then for big chances created, they're last. Big, big chances missed, they're last in the league. So it's not a good sign for them. They've only scored 13 goals, 9 from open play, 1 from set pieces. So again, set pieces is something we should capitalize on. We can't mess it up. Skriniar, Bastoni, Devray cannot be messing that up. They've scored they've been conceding 2.1 goals per game. So that's another sign of why we should be winning this comfortably. No disrespect to Crotone, I'm just saying, this is not going to be as tough as Spezia, in my opinion. And they're also a team who tends to foul a lot. They would like to, have these pauses in play. So they'll try to break up our play with physical tackles. What makes me say this is because they've already had 37 yellow cards so far this season. That's a lot, and 3 red cards. And I've watched them a bit. It's not I'm not just going purely by stats, but yeah, they do like to break up play in that manner. They're a pretty rash team, and yeah, you will expect them. Sorry, I do expect them to field a 3-5-2, and yeah, that's pretty much it, Manish. Like they don't they prefer attacking from wider areas. As I said, it's their wing backs mainly, not centrally. And only worry, if I had to worry about someone, would be as I said, Junior Messias, their top scorer, their striker, another striker by the name of Simi, who I remember a few years ago scored a bicycle kick goal against Juventus. So yeah, these two are the ones to worry about. That's pretty much it. And other than that, honestly, this it's since January is not our best of months in the past. Let's see if we can at least start out on a good note, because it's Crotone, and if we really can't beat them, no disrespect to Crotone once again, then it's a big missed opportunity. But just to cap it off, Manish, 3-5-2 is what I expect from Crotone. I do expect them to sit deep, but not like park the bus per se or something. Or even if they do, they're not very good at it. And yeah, the keeper also, Alex Cordas, he has made some blunders this season when I saw him against Genoa. So it should not really be a big deal. So all in all, Manish, we should be winning this, pretty comfortably. If it's not a hammering, but the way in which we play and all, it should be pretty comfortable. And I would like to see a bit of rotations in the team. Yeah. Yeah. So
Perfect, Parmesh.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry,
Sorry.
carry on.
Yeah, so just that was my take on how, of course, Crotone play and everything, and a few stats in there. But Manish, now, of course, since I pointed that out, and I personally feel there have to be some changes in the 11, at least some changes. What's your take on it? How do we approach this? Do we make mass scale changes? Should we not tinker around too much, or maybe just a few changes here and there? What's your take on how do we line up? How should we approach this match? Stick to our original traditional approach of sitting back, and then countering, or just go in, press them and choke them, and get those 2 goals, early goals, and whatnot. What do you think?
So going by the stats, like you said, I think Crotone has scored the second lowest in the league. The amount of goals, just 13 goals in the league they scored, and the goals against again has been like 29, which is again the second worst. So going by that, I think Inter has all the right to go out attack, because Crotone don't see much of an attacking team, and their defensive also, I think they're quite bad. So saying that, I'm expecting Conti not to tinker much. Conti's type of coach will pretty much stick to his trusted 11 always. But this type of match, we check, Parmeshwar, we check the calendar for January. Inter is playing every third day. So there are a total of 7 matches in a span of like 30 days. It's going to be really hectic month. So I'm guessing Conti should evaluate the player's condition, the physical. If like players like Sensi are not fit to start, I prefer resting him for this type matches, because we all know Sensi how he's it's made of glass. His leg is made of glass. So might as well rest those type of players. Sanchez, players like Sensi, all I think might be given a break. So saying that, pretty much Conti to stick to his pretty much usual formation with, I'm sure Barella is going to start. Even Barella has 1 foot, he's going to start this match. So yeah, so Lukaku and Lautaro to start the attack. In the wings, pretty much is going to be Hakimi and Ashley Young, if you ask me. Midfield is going to be Barella, Vidal, and Brozovic, those three, and the back three to remain the same. So I don't think much of a tinkering to happen. Although I would love to see tinkering. If we score like 2 or 3 goals up front in the first half, I would definitely bring on more younger players or more different players to get those extra minutes. But seeing Conti, I think he's going to start pretty much the same trusted formation like he has always started until they are injured or something. He's not going to change his formation. And I don't think we're going to take a defensive approach on this game. This type of matches where you would see Crotone pretty much defend with 10 men behind the ball. So it's all Inter's going to take the initiative in the first minute. I'm expecting a very offensive game by Inter, high scoring match. If you ask me, that's my analysis for that. And I want to check with you, Parmeshwar. What is your prediction for this match before I say my prediction?
Yeah, Manish, just before I get into that, like a few important things. Again, I mean, no disrespect to Crotone and everything, but yeah, I mean, if this is a match, as you said, we should be asserting our authority because you know this helps the players' morale in general, right? These teams you need to beat immediately. Like I remember the last season, the match against Spal, if you remember at the Miazza, hammered them completely, 6-0. Ericsson also got a goal in and an assist in. I remember that. So I'm not saying 6-0, but it needs to be along those lines. Yeah, it needs to be a performance where we are, you know, not overcomplicating things, confident in our approach. Go like whatever we do, need to be confident with it and seal it off. If, as I said, if I had to worry about two or three of their players, if in case it would be Simi, it would be Junior Messias and their centre back Lisandro Magalan, who's from on loan from Ajax, pretty decent at distributing the ball. That's pretty much it. Like yeah, Manish, that's for Crotone. And as you asked me, of course, my prediction, I would also like to predict a possible 11, which in my opinion, I would like to see this match at least Radu start. I mean, I know he's not there for the future. I know, but I don't see the harm of him starting against Crotone. I know it's a bit doubtful. It's a gray area, but I would like to see Radu start. That being with Skriniar, Devray, Bastoni. I don't want to tinker with the backline. I don't trust D'Ambrosio a lot. I respect him, but I don't trust him with his defensive duties. Of course, as you said, left wing back for me, yeah, it has to be Ashley Young. If Perisic is seriously up for sale, then I think it has to be Ashley Young. Hakimi without a doubt on the right. I mean, since Vidal is back, so I would go for Barella, Brozovic, Vidal, I think, or maybe even Gagliardini in there somewhere, so that I don't want Vidal to have some injury issues because even after Crotone, in my opinion, Sampdoria is not going to be an easy team to play. Then we have to play two tough games in Roma and Juventus. So, we need to keep Vidal in shape. So maybe Gagliardini, Brozovic, Barella. And of course, without a doubt, since Sanchez isn't available, of course, Lukaku, Lautaro. But yeah, sorry to drag on, just to come to a prediction, Manish. I think it has to be something like 2-0 or 3-0. I'm not going to go like 4-0, 5-0 because yeah, I don't think that's possible. Even if it is, but I don't think Crotone would still let that happen immediately. So 2-0, 3-0 is my prediction, and maybe Lukaku bagging a brace, or yeah, with Lautaro. I want Lautaro's confidence to be there, be stable. He needs to keep scoring goals. That's pretty much on my end, and yeah, that's pretty much I feel what I feel about Crotone. What do you think, Manish? What's your prediction about regarding the scoreline? How do you think, or like, do you think we'll go all guns blazing and completely thrash them like we did thrash Spal last season, or what do you think?
No, so yes, talking about their main player, which I think we should worry about is their keeper, Alex Corzas. He's a former Inter player. He played for a couple of seasons at Inter, although he didn't get much of a chance. Uh, I don't know, whenever ex-players tend to play against us, for some reason they get this sort of motivation and drive. And he's also the captain. So uh, although they allowed a lot of goals, their defense is quite leaky. But saying that, the only player to stop us from winning the game is their keeper, if you ask me, because I don't think much of a threat offensively, but their keepers always, for some reason, have to be their man of the match. So yeah, that's the only threat from there, and according to me. And yes, my prediction and scoreline should be like I'm expecting a 3-1 result in favor of Inter to win 3-1. And one of the goal will either be a deflected goal or something like a really stupid goal where Handanovic again is like steady on his ground and looking the ball pass by his net. That's my prediction for this first year of 2021, first game for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that we'll have probably concede because I mean, January and February have not been kind to us in the past year. The new year has never been kind to Inter. But as we've always, at least since we began our podcast, we had this sort of feeling, all of us, I guess, you, me, Gautam as well, that, we had one of the shakiest starts, and maybe this is a point where we can, we probably use that to, fix our mistakes. And probably the start of it was a 3-5-2 from the 3-4-1-2. We don't know. And Crotone is the first time we'll actually get to see how it goes, like the first match, at least, of many. Let's hope it's a start to a good year, and let's hope we can maintain this consistency in Jan and Feb because the matches to come are not easy. After Crotone, we'll be facing Sampdoria. In my opinion, that's a really tough match. Ranieri has been doing a pretty decent job, and as you said, ex players show up. No disrespect to Cordas as well, as I said earlier. I just felt he was a bit error prone. And of course, in Sampdoria, we'll have Candreva coming back. Then we have AS Roma, very tough. And of course, Juventus. So, yeah, let's hope, Manish, this, like, the Jan and Feb curse doesn't repeat, because if that happens, then I don't know how else we can catch up with AC Milan or anyone else for that matter. Yeah. So yeah, yes, that was that. That was our preview. Those were our thoughts for the match for Crotone and the win over Hellas Verona. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Twitter on our Interclub India handle. We are also available on Instagram on Interclub India. It's our podcast is of course linked to that. And yeah, please do subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you for the next
And
episode.
before
Thank
that,
you.
Parmeshwar, I just want to say all the Inter fans, wish them a
Yeah.
very happy new year.
Yeah.
2020 has been tough for all of us, so just wishing everybody, the whole world, a safe and happy new year for everyone. Forza Inter, guys. Salute.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. I mean, I forgot about that as well. Yeah, Happy New Year to all of our Inter fans. Of course, 2020 has definitely been a tough year for everyone involved, and let's hope 2021 is a good year for everyone, and especially let's hope we Inter as a team can start off the year on a positive note, being the first team to play. So yeah, Forza Inter, and thank you for tuning in, guys.